Now, I want to talk to you about your latest book, Let It Go. And it really deals with a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. You know, most of us have been hurt. We've been abused. We've been through something.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard to forgive. What really is the benefit to the person who needs to forgive? What's in it for them?
The benefits are countless. In fact, there's more in it for the person who forgives than it is the person who is forgiven. It is more blessed to give it than it is to receive it, because forgiveness cuts the umbilical cord between you and the event that has attached itself to your life. And then forgiveness opens your heart so that you can see more clearly. The Bible said that pure in heart shall see God. So when your heart is contaminated, you can't see God. You can't see his glory and his face and understand him. But most importantly, it has health benefits, less stress, you sleep better, you're more creative, you're more resourceful. It affects every aspect of your life, and you are more eligible to work in higher regimes of life if you can deal with offenses, cast them off, and keep your mind focused on the greater good.
Wow. Now, speaking of all of the benefits, you know, I think about the Lord's Prayer. Most of us learn that when we're very young.
Right.
And there's one, I don't want to say little line because it's very profound, but there's a line in there about forgiveness. Tell us a little bit about what that means for us.
I think that line really was the catalyst that inspired the entire book. It said to forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I always stumbled over that because I thought, do I really want God to treat me the way I treat someone who has hurt me? And that really caused me to begin to examine my own heart about how I am supposed to be a conduit of God's personality. But in fact, some of God's grace and mercy flows to me, but does not flow through me. And so this is a cathartic moment that allows you to allow that grace to pass through your heart, that you might pass it on to other people. And when you do that, you actually receive forgiveness as you allocate it into the lives of other people.
So the people who say, you know, God forgiving you is contingent on you forgiving others, is that accurate or maybe a little different
Well, you know, that's what you're asking for in that prayer. You're saying, God, forgive me as I forgive those who trespass against me. Now, I think God in his mercy looks beyond our mistakes and often allocates forgiveness to us that we don't perpetuate in the lives of other people. But it is our responsibility as a Christian to perpetuate that grace. And the pain of giving it to someone who is guilty causes you to understand how you have pained the heart of God, and yet he allocates grace to us every day.
Wow, that is so amazing.
Yeah.
Now, there's probably someone watching right now, and they're thinking, you know, Bishop, that's easier said than done. You don't know what I've been through. I've been abused. I've been raped. I've been abandoned, rejected. They've been through some great things. What are some steps they can take toward forgiveness?
First of all, it is not easy, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. I certainly don't want to oversimplify it and suggest that it is easy to let it go, but just because something isn't easy doesn't mean that it should not be done. And it's very important to do it. And secondly, many of us have been abused. We've been through all types of horrible things that you have suggested, but remember that Christ was dying on the cross, and he did it while he was bleeding to death. So if you've been anything short of bleeding to death on the cross, you ought to be able to look at that example and perpetuate it. One of the things that I think is very, very important, we have to understand that there's nothing wrong with being angry, okay? The Bible tells us to be angry, but not to stay angry. So when the Bible said anger resteth in the bosom of fools, you've got to be able to dispel it. The second thing that's important, you need to be able to confront a person and have your say. A lot of times it's hard to bring closure to something where you have not expressed yourself. And stick to the issue. Don't violate the individual. Let's stick to the issue. I don't like what you did. That doesn't equate to I don't like you. Sometimes we become personal and we lose all ability and all credibility because we personalize the injury as if the person is no good when in fact the thing that they did is not good. And say, you know, you've done many wonderful things. I thank God for who you are. This one thing right here really, really bothered me and it's affecting how I feel about you. Let's not be juvenile and just throw out the baby with the water. And if you can do that and be objective in your pain, then God can select you to work in so many more arenas because you are objective about the issue.
Amen. Now, as we wrap this up, I want to ask you, maybe there's a personal story you have that you're willing to share with us where you've had to actually forgive someone?
Oh, I share many of them in the book. There's a lot of them, and I was fairly transparent about them. But the one that immediately pops to mind is one of my children stole some money from me during their adolescent years. Yeah, and it wasn't the money. It wasn't the money. It was that they stole it from me. And, I would have given it to you. And for some reason, I was deeply, deeply hurt about that. And then later I realized how bad my pain had hurt them. And because I love my child more than I love the whole issue, I went back and said, you know what, it's not even important. He burst into tears and cried, Daddy, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make it right. I did something wrong. And if you don't create an atmosphere where flawed people can still be loved, then who are we? And then if you create that atmosphere for your children, how much more for the children of God? The person that you're angry with is somebody's child.
Yeah.
And learning to flow into that arena of forgiveness, because sometimes people make mistakes. I mean, grievous, heinous mistakes that really give you pain, infidelity, really painful things. What they did is bad, but that doesn't mean who they are is bad.